Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 118 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. Okay, so this week, a couple of things going on. First off, attitude goes a long way. Let's talk about one of my experiences while I was out and about. Next, tell you a little bit about the SD card shuffle that I'm trying to incorporate to hopefully not have the same kind of problems that I, have been having. It's amazing when you think about it. You know, a Boy Scout's supposed to be prepared. I'm getting there, folks. All right, we're throwing a shave of the day. Apparently, I have been doing cast iron all wrong. There's another method of seasoning cast iron using a different oil, and I'll tell you about it. And hopefully, one of these days, I'll actually have done it and share with you my experience. A quick segment on Secret Agent Man. I can hear the tune in my head, you know, Secret Agent Man. But there you go. You'll have to listen to that one to understand what that's all about. Shave of the day with, a little bit of what they call a debate anyhow thrown in. It's very short. I don't do politics anymore, folks. I'm sorry. It's just, I'm not going to go there. Okay. Fascination. I have a fascination with mechanical things. I'll tell you about it, tell you what I've been doing, why I've been doing it, and why I find it just absolutely, enthralling, fascinating. Now, just a quick show note. Last couple of weeks, okay, it's been a heck of a year. I'm here to tell you. At least for me anyhow, it has been busy, it has been up, it has been just all the time, go. I'm on episode 118. There are a lot of back episodes that you guys can listen to. I need some time off, so I'm going to take a couple of weeks, and I'm going to take off until the new year probably, and get my wits about me and just kind of kick back, relax, and think about it. I'll have to tell you the honest truth. The last couple of weeks, Wednesday night comes along, and I'm sitting there going, I got to do a podcast, and I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel excited about it. I want to have, some enthusiasm about this. I don't want it to be drudgery. If it becomes drudgery, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop doing it. So in order to prevent it from being that, I'm going to take a couple weeks off, kind of recharge the batteries. So, if something strikes me and I have enough to throw an episode together, I'll throw it in there. But if not, you'll hear from me in 3 weeks. So, anyhow, thanks for being there, and if I don't get a chance to say it, have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas. I do celebrate Christmas, especially down here. I find it a fantastic family holiday, family get-together, a lot of reflection, introspection, and just filled with joy and cheer, and try to make myself understand and hopefully pass it on to others that every single day that we have is an absolute gift, and we should treat it that way and revel in it, absolutely revel in it, which means that, we should start it out the best way we can, and for me, that usually means a good shave. Anyhow, that's the show this week. Let's get on with this thing. All right, we are back in action in the truck, and that's good. So I go to Staples, and I buy a bunch of SD cards. It's not a great price, but it's not a bad price for SD cards. All right, so I also bought some stuff for work. I spent $250 at Staples. Now, it's Saturday morning. There is absolutely no one in the store. There's like 2 customers. That's it. And there's about 4 or 5 people working there. I get up to the cash register. I get all my stuff. Not a thank you, not a Merry Christmas, not a Happy Holidays, nothing. Doesn't even hand me my bags. Hands me my receipts, The first one handed it to me. I put it in the bag. The second one handed it to me. I put it in the bag. I looked at her and said, "Thank you very much," and left. Not a word. Not a peep. Not a word. Nothing. I couldn't believe it. Okay. Now, I've been in a lot of places in this country. I have been in places where people are rude, inconsiderate, mean, nasty. Okay, I've been in big cities. I've been in small cities. I've been on both coasts. I've been top and bottom. I've been just about everywhere in this state that there is to be. I moved to South Carolina for a reason. I moved to South Carolina because the people are kind, considerate, pleasant to be around. I have seldom. I've seen it before in a few places. Auto parts store, something like that. But realistically, at an auto parts store, I'm buying, $10 worth of parts, I think, the last time it happened. I get that. It was busy. I get that. But when you walk into a Staples on a Saturday morning, the person's obviously awake, maybe not having a good day, that's great, but not a word, not a peep. In my life, in my, where I live, that is so highly unusual that I had to comment on it. Guys, if you're working out there in retail, send your customers out on at least a positive note. They may not have wanted to spend $300 on stuff. They may not have wanted to spend $300 on stuff. At least let them walk out of the store with a pleasant thought to think about, I like that store. Maybe I'll come back to it. I'm here to tell you, in retail, it makes a difference. Your attitude conveys over to the customers. If you're dealing with miserable, pissed-off customers all the time, just out of curiosity, check to make sure you're not the the stimulus of that attitude. Anyhow, it goes without saying. The attitudes of people carry over into other people a lot. And you can really make somebody's day and create a difference in somebody's life if you allow a positive attitude to take hold of you and work on you throughout the day. It's as simple as that. Even if you're not necessarily feeling it, okay? There's going to be times when you're going to be tired and run down. I get that. But in general, you should look at the fact that you're able to put your feet on the ground and take a breath in the morning as a positive start. Everything else is gravy because it's not guaranteed. And share that attitude with everyone you run into, if at all possible. Because if more and more people walk around with a positive attitude, the people that you deal with are going to, be more positive in general. And you're going to have a better experience in life. And so will they. It just kind of goes around like a big giant snowball that eventually rolls over you and it's one of those big fluffy ones, not one of those hard ice-packed ones. It's good stuff. Now, of course, here I am talking about snow. And here in South Carolina, in the upstate, it is currently 63 degrees, foggy, but 63 degrees. And the projected high for today is like 74. It's December. I love living in the South. So after my technologically challenged week last week, if you recall, I went through about 3 or 4 SD cards that either died, blew up, whatever. They just crashed. It was like, wow, this is a bit rough. Anyhow, I went through all my SD cards, so I bought 3 new ones. They're all the same size, and We'll see how they do, but I bought 3 of them so that I could rotate them amongst my devices, amongst the various devices that I have, and hopefully I won't run into a situation if instead of taking the one out here in the truck, I swap it for one that I have. That way I will always have one at the ready in the truck. I should have thought about that a while ago, but, well, it's one of those things you kind of learn, I guess. And so give it a try. We'll see how it works. Maybe I'll color code them or something, red, white, and blue or something. I don't know. It'll be one of those things that we just play around with. But hopefully what it will do, if I work the system correctly, it will allow me to always have the ability to record in the truck when the feeling hits, when the mood strikes, when something jumps out at me as noteworthy. And, that's what I miss, that spontaneity, that ability to just go, aha, there it is. That's going on the show. So wish me luck, guys. We'll see how it works out. All right, so today's shave of the day. I was in a bit of a hurry because I had to get somewhere this morning pretty quick. So, I say I was in a hurry. I was in a hurry for what I wanted to do. I wanted to take the time to have a straight razor shave. So, I looked up at the clock and realized I just didn't have a whole lot of time, but I wanted to have a straight razor shave anyhow. So, didn't have time necessarily to soak a brush. Didn't have time really to bowl lather. So what I did is I grabbed a synthetic, and in fact the synthetic that I grabbed was my little kabuki brush that I use from time to time just to, make sure it gets damp, and, it's kind of like what I used to do when I'd fly fish. It's like, I got a pond out back, and I'd just walk out there, and I'd just be happy in getting the line wet. I'd catch something every now and then, but for the most part, I was just happy in being able to get the line wet. So, it's one of those things. I try to just get the kabuki wet every now and then. So, kabuki brush, I think I paid $7 for it. $6 or $7, one of those two. But I bought it, I believe, at Target. It's the one with the long handle. I chopped the handle off to fit in a carrier, but it's still about the same as most other handles. So, ladies, if you're interested in wet shaving and you happen to have a kabuki makeup brush around that you're not using, you could, if you cared to try it and didn't want to go to the expense, you could use that for a lather brush, a shaving brush, because they work really, really well. I have not had this one fall apart. I have not had this one have any ill effects or anything from getting wet or anything like that. Now, granted, the finish is kind of, chipped off in a couple of places, but the finish on the handle was just gray paint anyhow. So it's not that big a deal. So it's an alternative that really is easy. Also, for guys, if you want a wet shave and you're out traveling or something, just stop into a Target or a Walmart or something like that, grab a kabuki brush. They can do in a pinch if you happen to have forgotten yours or something happened to it or whatever. Anyhow, so grab the kabuki brush and just wet it. Didn't soak it, just wet it, and proceeded to load up the brush with Katie's Bubbles LPV. Now, the thing that I've noticed, and I tried it the other day, I had been questioning whether the scents and aromas worked better in my electric scuttle that I've been playing with. And they really do. Holy cow. LPV took on almost a new depth, if you will. It's just larger in scent profile. It was much more profound. Really, really nice. And of course, the warm lather was just fabulous. Anyhow, I didn't have time for that this morning, so just loaded up the kabuki brush and wet my face after my shower, because it was just a quick in and out, and proceeded to lather up. I then went ahead and did a 3-pass straight razor shave with some touch-ups. And I found that I had time for that because I hadn't taken those extra couple of minutes to do a good job bowl lathering and all of that. Cleanup was also a little bit easier. Rinse out the brush, boom, you're done. You don't have to clean out a bowl. You know, it's pretty straightforward and simple. So there are little things that you can do, and, you know, I wanted to do a straight razor shave this morning because, well, I've been using my auto strops for, I don't know, almost a month now, 3 weeks at least, and I wanted something, well, different. And just as a comparison. Now, one thing that I will say, a difference between a straight razor and, well, my straight razor's on a stick, otherwise known as my auto strops, that I've noticed is that with a straight razor, for the most part. Now, if I took my time and got a little adventurous, I could probably do, you know, something different. But for the most part, under my nose, I only go down with the grain. That's the only thing that I can do, really, with a straight razor. It's an angle thing. It's, you know, if I take the time, I open myself up to cuts and nicks, and, you know, if I take my time, I don't, but it's still, Anyhow, so, you know, one of the advantages, the real advantages of safety razors over straight razors is you can get a little bit better if you look in the goatee area, the mustache and the goatee area. You can get closer shaves, at least I can, in those areas with a safety razor because I can go against the grain easily and without fear of cutting myself up. So, there you go. Now, for the aftershave, after I got done, the aftershave was the V-John Old Spice replica stuff. And I put that on. It's got a little scent. The scent does not last long at all. But it's like, I don't know, $2, $2.50, something like that at the dollar store. And it's a good alcohol-based aftershave. So, it seals things up, lets me know, if I did a good job or if I've got razor burn or whatever. And lo and behold, no, I did not. So that was good. It's good to be able to come through a straight razor shave with no nicks, no razor burn, no issues at all. I enjoy that. That's what it's one of those things that when you're done, you're like, yeah, that's kind of nice. So that was, well, the shave of the day, and then off into the wild blue yonder into a foggy but warm morning. So just a quick update on my gas cans. So I bought a couple more gas cans, some of the NATO gas cans, the metallic ones, the ones that seal. And in fact, I can attest to their sealing capabilities. Because when I got the 2 more gas cans that I purchased, I went down to the gas station, I filled them up with 5 gallons of gas each, and then I proceeded to put them in the back of my truck. Now, my truck has a cover on it, so it was all safe, and it wasn't exposed to severe sunlight or anything like that. It was just, the general environmental temperatures, if you will. But in the course of 2 weeks, probably 2 weeks, they rode those 2 cans filled with 5 gallons of gas in the back of my truck, bouncing around and, in fact, laying on their sides because, well, I had originally had them standing up, but, well, they fell over. Okay, so I might have taken a corner just a bit too, quick, or stopped a bit suddenly, or accelerated a bit too quickly, but however it happened, they ended up falling on their sides. Now, the good news is that the first week, I forgot about them. I truly did. I forgot about them. And I opened up the tailgate, and I went, oh, my goodness, I still have these gas cans in there. Wow, I forgot about them. And they're laying on their side, and they've been bouncing around back there for a week. Now, the amazing thing is that when I opened the tailgate, there were no odors of gas at all. Not even a hint. No traces, no nothing. Perfect. Okay. So I shut the tailgate and went on with life, and actually, and quite honestly, forgot about them for another week. And when I finally did pull them out of the back of the truck, there still was, there was no leaks. And in fact, the sides, because it had gotten a little bit cooler and everything had condensed just a little bit, the sides were kind of sucked in just a bit in the change in pressures due to the temperature. So I didn't do anything with them. I just said, that's kind of neat. And I proceeded to take them and put them in my garage. And I shut the door. And every day I walk out in the garage, and it's been 2 weeks. There still is not a hint of gasoline smell at all ever from anything. It is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. There is no way I could have ever done what I did with those metallic cans with one of the new plastic cans. They would have broken, they would have spilled gas, they would have vented, they would have done something, but it would not have been with the, contempt for my little actions that these metallic cans obviously have displayed. So color me a big fan. And so now I'm looking at these going, okay, so I'm probably going to get a couple more here in the near future. And what other kinds of things do I need any kerosene? And what other kind of stuff do I need that I don't want the smell and everything else getting out that, one of these cans might come in handy for? So just a quick update again on metallic NATO cans for gasoline or other flammable liquids. It's a good deal. It really is. It's one of those things where, it's probably twice as expensive, maybe just a touch more than one of the plastic ones nowadays. But I'm here to tell you, after what I've seen these cans go through, just compared to the cheap plastic ones, these things are going to be around for a long, long time. And for a long, long time, while they're around, I'm going to be smiling in my head, knowing that, I paid a little bit more up front. It was worth it, and these things are going to last, probably as long as I do. Anyhow, just a quick update. All right, so the other thing that I enjoy doing is cast iron. And I recently read an article that I thought was very interesting. It was on Cheryl's blog, The Chemistry of Cast Iron Seasoning, a science-based how-to. And essentially what I read in reading this blog post was that, I have been seasoning my cast iron all wrong. And in fact, the usage of certain oils, bacon fat, things like that, are not probably the best. And to me, that's like, what? I've been seasoning cast iron with bacon forever. Bacon grease and just bacon. And, to me, you want to season a cast iron pan, just cook breakfast in it over and over and over again. And eventually you get to the point where it's perfect. So as I was reading this article, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes because I think it's good stuff. Cast iron is one of those things where we got away from cast iron because, we wanted the new and improved. We wanted the things that were coated, the things that were, aluminum, because it dissipates, it spreads heat quickly and not really evenly, but quickly. And we wanted it coated with Teflon because that was the latest and greatest, even though Teflon chips off and it's not really good for your health. And Teflon has its applications, and I understand that, but when you're scraping it, especially when you're, typically, reach out there and grab some kind of an iron implement or a knife or a fork made out of steel, it's probably not the best thing to come anywhere close to Teflon. If you happen to use nothing but plastic utensils and plastic implements, spatulas, etc., Teflon will probably last a long time. Even though there is some, small particles of Teflon that will reside in just about everything that comes in contact with it. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. Overall, it's not bad. However, if you have a tendency, like my wife does, to grab, metallic knives and forks and utensils and use those with her Teflon cookware, it gets scratched, scraped, and, generally ends up in real bad condition. And then it starts to stick, then it starts to peel, flake, etc. So I have tried my best to eliminate Teflon, at least in my life, even though my wife still enjoys cooking on it from time to time. I've tried cast iron. I've been using cast iron for years. I love cast iron. To me, cast iron is, well, the epitome of nonstick cookware because, first off, it lasts forever. You really have to work hard at destroying a good piece of cast iron. Secondly, if you treat it nicely, it can in fact be so non-stick it's almost scary. And that gets us down to, well, the seasoning of it. Now, in this article, one of the things that I noticed and that I read was that, again, I have been seasoning things, well, incorrectly. And in fact, the idea is to get flaxseed oil at the organic grocery or some such. I got mine off of eBay and season it with that because, in fact, it seasons better. You have to do multiple coats and you should do light coatings, but it does, in fact, season better than anything else out there. So I bought myself the requisite bottle of flaxseed oil, and I will be probably over this weekend seasoning a couple of Dutch ovens just to see if in fact it does. Now, looking at her blog, looking at the pictures of what she's doing with them and all, yeah, it looks like it's a much better coating. The other thing that's interesting is that it polymerizes much better than some of the other oils and fats that people typically use for seasoning, in which case it will provide a better coating for a much longer time. All in all, that's good stuff. So we're going to give it a try and see what happens, because even if it doesn't work out, it's still kind of fun to play with cast iron and, well, just, again, get back to, well, the way things were meant to be. And I'm all for that. And if I can create something the way that somebody, well, originally intended to do it, yeah, that's good stuff all the way around. Whether that's shaving, working on firearms, or messing around with cast iron. Somebody originally had a concept, and, part of the adventure, part of the fun is to find out what that concept was and then attempt to honor that concept. That's one of the reasons, for example, straight razors are so intriguing, because the concept is so simple and so straightforward. We overlook that. The whole concept of a straight razor is to shave quickly and efficiently without any extra stuff. And it does it. And it does it well, especially when we have it honed correctly, because that was the original designer's intent. It's interesting. Sometimes when you go back to the source, you discover amazing things. Anyhow, like I said, I'll put a link to Cheryl's blog on the chemistry of cast iron seasoning. And if anybody else is out there, let me know how it works out. And as time goes on, I'll let you guys know, well, what happened. All righty. Well, it has been an interesting week. However, one of the things that I got, and it dawned on me, this is not shave related at all, but it dawned on me the other, a couple weeks ago when the San Bernardino attacks were happening. One of the first things that I did when I found out about the San Bernardino attacks was jump onto an app called 50 Radio on my iPhone, and I was able to follow along with what was going on. Well, very, very quickly, I knew what was happening. I was hearing the police channel. In fact, I was actually on the command frequency, which gave me some insights as to what was happening. And after having done that, one of the things that I just kind of fell into was a desire to have a single earbud unit that also had a microphone in it, so I could take calls and do all that, but at the same time listen with my other ear to my surroundings. And so after having done some research and looking at things, I came upon a rather unique way to do that, and it is called an anti-radiation FBI agent popular mono earphone. It is a 3.5 millimeter stereo air tube with a wired earpiece and earbuds, and it's got a microphone, and so it's it is a kind of an FBI agent, Matrix agent type earbud that fits in your ear with a little coiled tube that goes down the back of your neck into your collar. And I was having some fun with it today. I was listening to a podcast. I wasn't. Now, first off, I got it about 2 days ago, and quite honestly, the thing works fantastically. I'll put a link in it in the show notes, just in case anybody else wants to get one of these things. They're only $15. It's a great deal. In fact, I'm going to get one for my wife and one for my older son for Christmas, just 'cause. But one of the best things. Well, first off, it worked great for phone calls. I mean, the microphone seems to pick up things very, very nicely, and it comes with 3 separate earpieces. You know, it's one of these anti-noise or noise-blocking type earphones, and it fits fairly deep in your ear. And there's one, I started out with the medium, and it was actually a little bit too large, and it was causing some irritation after some time. I ended up putting the small earpiece on there, and that worked very, very nicely. I could sit there comfortably and wear that thing for, a couple, 3 hours and not have any irritation. Sounds good. Blocks most of the noise in that ear, and so it's not a problem there. The control has a microphone, and you can stop things and start things with it, and it's just volume control. It's pretty nice, and for $15, can't go wrong. Now, the best thing though, because this is really the story. The best thing is I had this, and I had it kind of. Well, I was wearing it kind of like an FBI agent, going down the back of the shirt, so it was like in the back of the collar type thing, and hooked over, and it came out of my shirt to hook into my into my iPhone in my pocket, and I was listening to a podcast. So I'm listening to a podcast, and I walked into this store, and I realized after about a minute that people were looking at me just a little bit differently. I'm sure they thought I was an undercover cop or something, but it was just, oh God, it was fun. That alone was worth the price of admission. And at the same time, I'm sitting there listening to a podcast I'm interested while I'm going about my general daily activities. It's all just good stuff. So, that was, it's fun sometimes when you, I don't know, present a persona that, well, isn't really reality, but, it's good stuff. People have given in the past a certain character that has a persona in the wet shaving world, and people have given him a bit of a hard time over it. And I understand that, but at the same time, after the experience I had today where people were, I don't know, treating me like I was a federal agent or something, I can understand the attractiveness, if you will, of presenting a persona that is, not really you. Now, at the same time, it does have some practical applications. I mean, if you are in a situation where there is something going on, you care to be discreet about your listening to things, listening to activities. For me, for example, the other day when the things were going on in California, to be able to discreetly listen to that and at the same time, and that's why I only wanted it in one ear, at the same time, be able to be aware of my surroundings was a great thing. Now, I did it with a pair of earbuds and just had one of the speakers, not in my ear, but kind of hanging down in my shirt. But at the same time, it wasn't terribly discreet, and it was fairly obvious. And at the same time, it just, it didn't sit well. It had a tendency to fall out, those kind of things. So this is a much better option for that. And for people who are interested in understanding what is happening around them and using the technology that is available to its utmost. I would be a firm believer in getting a single earbud type thing that has a microphone, and this just seems to be a really, really good option. Anyhow, it's like I said, $15 on Amazon. Yeah, you can't go wrong, and if you have the opportunity to wear it around and cause some people to kind of take a double take, well, that's almost worth the price of admission. All right, well, it's morning, and it's a nice morning. It's got a clear blue sky out here, and things are good. It's cool weather, which is actually rather nice for December. A lot better than, being in the 70s. Made the mistake, of course, of watching a debate last night, if that's what you want to call it. It's was more like a dog and pony show, but oh my gosh. It's really interesting. How is it that they call these things debates? Nobody debates. You don't get a back and forth, you get a food fight. It's incredible. Anyhow, enough of that crap. All right, let's talk about the shave of the day. The shave of the day, I use my Gillette long handle adjustable, often known as the Black Beauty. The long black plastic handles, or I think they're aluminum handles. But anyhow, long black handles on them, and I had used it the other day with some LPV, and I went ahead and did that again, except this time, I was in a little bit of a hurry. I went ahead and used it in the shower, and noticed something. It dawned on me. I put a fresh Rapira blade in it the other day, and it dawned on me this morning, because while I was shaving, I noticed that the side that I was using, for some reason, it was a little, I don't know, rough. Don't know if it was an issue where the blade was adjusted differently or what. And then I remembered that I had loaded that Rapira blade in just yesterday. Now, there's a unique thing that I do, and I don't do it on purpose. It's solely by happenstance. But whenever I shave, I have a tendency not to flip the razor around. So on a double-edged razor, I have a tendency, when I start shaving on one side of that blade, because of the grip, the way I put it down, the way everything that I do, I have a tendency to continue to shave on that side. So I'm not flipping back and forth. And so what it pointed out to me this morning while I was shaving was that one side had really not been shaved on, and was essentially fresh out of the pack. And it was a little bit sharper and a little bit, well, I guess the best word is harsher. Not by much, but it was enough for me to notice anyhow. The other side, however, was, fairly nice. Or maybe it was the side that I had shaved with previously that was harsher. I really don't know. I'll have to mark them or something to find out. It's just a curiosity kind of thing. But there was a discernible difference between both sides. And it was enough that, I thought I would comment on it, because sometimes if you have a situation where you think that you are, have a blade that's harsh or whatever, or things are misadjusted, it may be the way that you're shaving. It may be what you're doing with the blade and how you're doing it. So I may have to try that. I've noticed, if I watch like Mantic's videos and things like that, he very purposefully rotates the razor to change sides back and forth, and I don't do that. And I may have to try that just to see how the blade progresses, and if I can continue to feel the difference side to side. So it was one of those unique things. I hadn't really thought about that. It was just, I don't know, an epiphany. it's really strange when you sit around and think, yeah, I have epiphany about razor blades. It's just, gosh, the world we live in, huh? Anyhow, that was kind of the shave of the day. However, the blade and razor combination did get yesterday was good gosh, just an absolute BBS shave. Today was not a BBS shave. It was a little bit better than socially acceptable, kind of between socially acceptable and BBS. How about that? And the reason for that is that when I shave in the shower, I only do a single pass against the grain. It's because of the moisture and everything, I can get away with that. It's not something that you would probably want to do outside of a shower. At least I don't think I would want to do it outside of the shower. But in the shower with the humidity and everything else going on, I can get away with that. So I can get a very close shave very quickly. And it's all good. So anyhow, that was the shave of the day, and hopefully it will get me through and be able to look at my Facebook and Twitter feeds and get through all the comments that people have to make about that thing that, well, somebody somewhere labeled a debate last night. Now, of course, the other thing that I did this weekend, only because, I don't know, I have a hard time leaving well enough alone. And I do happen to have certain skills that have been, I don't know, trained, given to me, whatever, over the course of experience and things like that. And so, quite honestly, one of the things that I really enjoy, and I'll go ahead and admit it, is firearms. I am enthralled by firearms. Now, part of the I don't know, attractiveness is that just from a absolutely pure mechanical point of view, just take all the politics and everything out of it. From a pure mechanical point of view, I like double-edged razors. I like single-edged razors. I really am intrigued by auto strop razors just because of the uniqueness of their mechanical design. And, the mechanical design thing that I have for something as, well, relatively mundane and simple as a razor, well, it translates into other things. For example, I am enthralled by the shape and the way that knives are made. I mean, a good kitchen knife, one that is thin and either flexible or not, depending on what it is designed for. But the very fact that it is made, well, with a design in mind, with a task in mind, is just, it's really, I don't know, there's something catchy. There's something intriguing about that. The very fact that there are things, mechanical things, an engine, for example. Oh my gosh, do you know how many pieces and parts are in an engine that have to function flawlessly for the thing to work? Most people don't comprehend that. I do. I always have. I've always been intrigued by the mechanical things. A gasoline engine is, it's got a compression rate of, 8-to-1, 10-to-1, somewhere in that neighborhood, 7-to-1. But the thing is that, people look at an engine and go, wow, that's pretty cool. And then you go to a diesel and all of a sudden the compression rate's like 30-to-1. And you go, no, that's cool, because whatever a normal engine is doing, that is doing under the kind of pressures, 3 times, 4 times the pressures in the cylinders. That's what's happening in that thing constantly and consistently. Now, you take an engine, for example, and wind it out, to how many of RPM it's capable of doing, and all of a sudden you come to the understanding that, holy cow, just from a brute force standpoint, the mechanical aspect of that thing is just, well, phenomenal. It truly is. So, there is a piece of me that is and has been always intrigued by, well, that mechanical aspect of things. And so with that in mind, I have always had a fascination, with firearms. Because anything that is designed to withstand the kind of brute force and pressures that are, encountered inside a firearm, and do it consistently, and keep functioning time and time and time again, it's a phenomenal engineering achievement. It truly is. For me, something that has always astounded me is you take something like like an old Springfield bolt-action rifle that they used to use in the military, and you go, wow, that's pretty cool. You got this bolt-action, you got a magazine feeding the cartridges. It's a 30-06 cartridge, which develops some rather fantastic pressures, and it spits a bullet out the end of the barrel, and it's like, wow. But meanwhile, back in the barrel, you have these just enormous pressures that have been created, and the barrel can withstand it, and it generates this recoil action that is just, phenomenal. Because if you ever shot one of the things, they kick like a mule. But the thing is that even with that, the trigger mechanisms and the safeties and all that still function, and still function time and time and time again. And it is truly a mechanical marvel. And then you move from that, a simple bolt-action rifle back in the day, to something as intriguing and as mechanically fantastic as the M1 Garand, which is a gas-operated unit. So not only is the bullet firing out the end of the barrel, after the barrel encountering these enormous pressures, but part of that pressure is bled off to actuate the action and, eject the old cartridge and strip a new one out of the magazine and shove it in the chamber ready to go again. And when you look at the pieces, we always look at a razor, for example, and think, my gosh, this is relatively simple. There's only a few parts to it. And then you get something, a little bit more complicated, an adjustable Gillette, for example, as opposed to a fixed, silo-doored, twist-to-open razor. And you think, okay, now that's an evolution. But the thing that is absolutely amazing is that evolution from something as simple as a bolt-action rifle to a gas-operated automatic rifle. It's just phenomenal. And when you take it apart, there are so few pieces that are actually involved in that thing. Now, granted, they have specific purposes and they do, certain things, but there's really not a lot of pieces to it. And it has just always fascinated me. And then you get the same thing. Okay, so, you get away from rifles and you start getting into handguns, and you're like, okay, now you have everything going on that is going on in this rifle, but in a much smaller, tighter, compact package. And all of a sudden you go, wow, that is incredible. Now, at the same time, I enjoy sharpening things, and I enjoy being able to, smooth out pieces of metal to the point where they function flawlessly and they do exactly what they're supposed to do. And my dream is always to take something, some firearm of some point, of some type. And when you pull the trigger on a firearm, oftentimes what you feel is the grit and the grind of metallic surfaces that are not perfectly machined, because after all, this is a mass-produced product, and you have this feel, this almost grit-like surface that you're dragging across, and it's no longer you're pressing against both spring and metal interference. And my dream has always been, on every firearm that I've ever encountered, owned, handled, whatever, has been to take that firearm and smooth the action up and smooth those surfaces down so that when you pull the trigger, you're almost amazed by the fact that the only thing that you feel is the spring. And there really is no metal-to-metal contact that you feel. There is no friction other than, just the spring. Because, in fact, that's what the designer actually intended. And so one of the things that I enjoy doing, and in fact I found myself doing this week, just to make a long story very short, is taking apart one of my firearms and achieving exactly that. Achieving that, granted, it has on this one, for example, it has a long trigger pull, but there is no roughness anymore in the trigger pull. That has all been replaced by nothing but smooth spring tension. And when you pull the trigger, that's what you're pulling. You're pulling against a spring. You're not pulling against friction from metal-to-metal contact and things that are getting in the way. It's just spring. And that to me is, when you take a mass-produced product that is designed to function and to withstand massive, massive pressures, to be able to do that and get it to the point where it is almost, at least in my head, exactly like the designer created it. Design it so that it functions just like the man who drew it up, who thought of it initially, how he intended, or woman for that matter, how they intended the device to react and respond to the simple input of pulling a trigger. That, to me, is mechanical fascination to its utmost. Some people, they display their mechanical fascinations by working on cars or motorcycles, and I enjoy those things, don't get me wrong, but there's something about, to me, there's this almost visceral understanding of the amount of explosive pressure that is created when the hammer strikes the firing pin and ignites the primer in a bullet cartridge. It really is a fascination for me, and I do enjoy it. And more importantly for me, I enjoy, almost as much as I enjoy pulling the trigger and shooting at targets, there is an understanding of the different designs that go into creation of these things and the manipulation and working of the mechanisms to the point where they are functioning, well, as flawlessly as they were originally intended. Oh gosh, it really just strikes a fire in me. It really does. It's one of those things where this is mechanically what the person originally intended to create. And to a large extent, that's one of the reasons why I have this fascination with safety razors. What was it that the person that designed the safety razor intend to create, and which designs are in fact mechanically correct and mechanically as good as they can be? That's one of the fascinations that I have with the valet auto strops, for example. They're fairly complicated razors when you stand back and think about it. Not only was it is a blade holder and a comb, and you had to get the angles correct and the distances correct, but on top of that, they designed it so that you could strop it at the same time. A mechanical marvel, but at the same time, it functions flawlessly. And for me, anyhow, the VC1 was the epitome of that, and it was the first offering. It very typically, when somebody comes out with a design, it's not the first design that is the epitome of the design. It's after you put it out there and realize that, well, I could have done this a little bit better, and yeah, this was a mistake, and yeah, I made this shortcut because I didn't have the money or anything to design it or continue. I had to get into production to pay the bills. It's usually, after the first design that you run into one that is actually, well, fantastic. Where for me, for my understanding, it's the VC1, the first valet auto strop, which is in fact the best. And so it is that fascination that found me this week working on one of my firearms, and in fact honing and polishing and perfecting, if you will, the trigger mechanism on a gun that was designed by an individual in their head, on a computer, on a piece of paper, doesn't matter. But they had an idea, they had a thought, and to be able to eliminate the variances of manufacturing and to be able to, well, get back to what that person originally intended when they drew that design on paper. To me, that is fascinating, and that is one of the things that, well, I enjoy doing. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at BrushnSoapnBlade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.